evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Paint Desk Ramblings. The topic for tonight is WYSIWYG, or What You See Is What You Get, that lovely acronym that everybody loves. And I'm joined by, first time on the show, we have Hyper G from Proxy Table Gaming.
Hello, folks.
And we're also joined by his buddy from the show, Lucky Sixes, also from Proxy Table
Yo,
Gaming.
yo, yo. His buddy.
And we might be joined by Henry P. Miller later in the show. We'll see if that he drops in. We had some issues with the daylight saving time and things like that. So we'll see. Take it as it comes. Yeah, so the topic is what you see is what you get. The rules governing model use, basically, and how it relates to the Night Age. So that's what we'll be getting into. But before that, we have the hobby spotlight. So what are you working on, gentlemen?
Shall I go first, Lucky Sixes?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Because I think we need to go to the low first, and then you can bring us up to speed, can't you? So I am working on some iron orcs at the moment. A whole unit of them. I don't really know where best. That is just basically an assembled black iron orc at the moment. There's just back paint and a very small amount of red on the back at the moment, and a couple of flesh green poking out between the armor. So very, very early stages of the painting. I've got a whole load of them here, literally a whole unit. I currently own 20 of them already painted, so I'm painting these ones up to the same color scheme as the ones that are already painted, which is very basic. This one's a completed one of the one that I have in the unit, so I'm not sure how well you can see that really.
Some red armor, seems.
Red armor, streaks of blood, green flesh, and black everywhere else. So very basic. I'm not really a painter, but hey, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Looks nice. So
good enough for me.
Those are the Games Workshop miniatures, the new ones in plastic. Guess they're pretty old by now, but I still consider them new.
Sure. Yeah, that's my project for the day.
Yeah, nice. So,
and I am looking at. Well, I've already started, but I want to change it completely. But so I've got a centaur character.
Oh.
Which, don't worry about the color scheme here; it's going to completely change. Who actually is meant to look like this?
Yeah.
Get the camera. Yeah. So this may or may not be coming up as a future endeavor for us. So I'm trying to take my time on it and make him look good. But I need to work out what he meant to look like in the first place. Yeah. Early stages. Trying out a few different paints and stuff, and contrast paints, and a recently acquired what's it called, paint handle thing.
Yep.
That was a reward out of War 3, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So cheers, Callum. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on today.
So what model is that? I didn't recognize it.
So it's from a game called Legends of Signum.
Okay.
Which there you go. I bought it about 3 months ago, so I have no idea where exactly it came from. So that's what you're getting. But it's like a Roman looking centaur.
Yeah.
So
Roman centaur.
Cool. I know, right?
Awesome.
And yeah, it's pretty cheap. I bought it online. I'll try and find out and let you know when I find out. But yeah, they wanted a different looking centaur that has the throw-in Hawthorne curse, I think it is, ability. So that's what I'm going for.
Yeah. So you're actually painting him how you're building the model in the game?
Fairly. He's a lot more armoured in the game. But I'm just pretending this shield that he's got is really good.
Yeah, I
Cool.
guess that's a topic we will touch upon in the in the main segment.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that's appropriate. No, but
So that was me trying to foreshadow that. I was trying to be clever.
Yeah, but it looks like a really nice miniature. So if you can find me a link to that, I'll include
Yeah,
it in the show notes in case
absolutely.
anyone is interested. So for myself, I'm working on some flaglants for my Empire Zornstall. Although I will probably I'm painting them up to use in a skirmish warband in the pretty near future. Hopefully now
I'm
now that Corona has arrived, all the games have been cancelled. So we'll see
Yeah,
when I
man.
get to use these guys.
I'm a huge fan of your skirmish game, by the way. I love it when you post one on your blog. I'm right there reading it.
All right, yeah. Then
Yeah, massive fan.
that makes me really happy to hear. I'll keep that in mind and try to get more out there.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're really cool.
So I have 5 of these guys. We'll be painting them up now. Pretty fun. Since all the games have been cancelled, I'm focusing on building a unit of swordsmen at the moment. But needed something to paint now, so these were perfectly lined up for it. So the miniatures are the really old Flaglants from Games Workshop. It seems
cool.
that like half the miniatures I paint in this this show are out of production. So this idea I had about sharing links and such so people
Yes,
could
there's no
find their
link for
own.
that. Yeah.
Nope, it's just not available. So that's a bit stupid.
Oh, speaking of links, I've just found it. This guy, I'll do this while I'm talking, is Rexo, the Centaur Knight from Codwallen.
Okay.
And it's €15 currently.
Okay, that's
So
nice.
yeah,
Very, very reasonable.
yeah. I think the Legends of the Signum game just have like loads of different looking characters. I think it's a skirmish game as well, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
We will.
But yeah, I'll send you a link.
Yep, excellent. I will include that in the show notes, so if anyone's interested in that miniature, they can check it out. But no such luck for this little fella. He's you're gonna have to find him on eBay and such if you want to get your hand on them. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's move on to some news. So the first bit of news I have is a pre-order is up on Taxarly Factory, not sure how that's pronounced, for their Sphinx, and it's available both as a Battle Sphinx and as a Dread Sphinx.
Very cool.
So these are computer renders so far, but I know that they have delivered on some other Undying Dynasty stuff, and I think people have been very pleased with them. They have some Shaptis and a Colossi and things like that.
Yeah, Undying Dynasties is one of the armies that I'm looking to get into in the future, hopefully. And I haven't got any models at the moment, but I'm looking to get them painted by Goblin's Grotto, who are a very good painting company. Well, I say company, a single individual at the moment, but he's looking to get going, and he's going to be the person painting my Undying Dynasties when I get them.
Okay.
So shout out to Ryan, if I'm allowed to do that. I haven't checked whether I'm allowed to or not.
Of course.
He's a very good painter.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you checked with Ryan?
No, Ryan doesn't know.
You haven't checked with anybody, it seems.
Nope.
Oh, but that's fine. I'm gonna hopefully start an Undying Dynasties army myself this year.
Cool.
Waiting for a Kickstarter to be delivered, but we'll see if that happens. So if that does happen, that's gonna be a real speed painting project for me. It's a terracotta army, so it's really suitable for speed painting.
Cool.
Of course. Nice. Yeah.
So looking forward to that. But yeah, that's the first piece of news. Next, we have some stuff from Fireforge Games. In light of the Corona situation, they announced a sale on hobby supplies, so that you can keep yourself busy while in quarantine. So it's 20% off on all their hobby supplies, paints and tools and things like that. I took advantage of it myself yesterday and placed an order, though it seems that because of Corona, they will not be able to ship it out until April.
Classic.
So not
Wow.
the best idea, perhaps. But I wanted to get some shields from them anyway for my Empire Sonnenstahl army, so I needed to place an order on them, and figured I could throw in some tools and things like that. So that's nice. And if you're interested, go check them out. Next we have a Dwarf Sky Bomber.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
By Woodaxe.
Oh baby.
Yeah, this is a really nice miniature. So it's some sort of cross between a Zeppelin and an airplane. And just really awesome.
Yeah.
So they have a few other flying dwarf things in their range, but this is the biggest one yet, I think. So really cool to see.
You fancy painting that for me, Lucky Sixes?
Absolutely. That'd be cool.
That's my other side project. I'm trying to convince Lucky Sixes to paint my dwarfs for me.
You have to give me them first.
Yeah, well, you know. Technicalities.
So that's all I have for miniature news. I know Henry had something that he wanted to bring up, but he can bring that up when he arrives, if he arrives. I'm gonna check and see if I have gotten a message from him. But we also have some other news. I want to mention Slanrat Daily. That's been put out by Slanrat Radio.
Yep.
Since last week, I think. So they're putting out one episode per day.
Yeah, it's like episode 6 now, isn't it? So
yeah. So different guests and a neat little quiz each time at the end. I was on one of the episodes, 5 I think, 4 or 5.
sweet.
Yeah. Really great stuff. So check that out. It too popped up because of the Corona situation. So yeah, some background noise there.
Absolutely. I'll just talk over it. Sorry,
Yeah,
fine.
no worries.
Ignoring your child.
Yeah, always.
So
painting.
But we also have a really big piece of news this week, because Ninth Age dropped a brand new game, which is not something they do every day. So they released the Games of Sagan, or I think that's how it's pronounced, Sagan.
I'm not even going to attempt how to pronounce that.
It's an orcish name.
Yeah.
So it's a completely separate game, but still set in the Ninth Age world. And it's about basically a sports festival among the orcs, and the goblins a little bit, but mostly as the orcs it seems. And you can play it as a campaign with 6 different contests, and see whose brood is the best, basically.
Nice. I like that idea. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to see them expand a bit into different things. And they pre-released part of this game in the Scroll a while back. So I think it was the Masters fight that was released a while back. So I That one I've had a pretty good look at. And then they've also released some fluff beforehand in another scroll, which was really neat. And now this new document is packed with quite a lot of stuff in terms of fluff.
Yeah, I think campaigns like this work best when they're accompanied by either fluff that's written or fluff that you create yourself alongside it.
Yeah, for sure. But I really, I mean, it seems a bit inspired by Blood Bowl in that it's a game that's
Yeah.
sort of set in the world, but it actually
Yeah, I was going to say that it looks really like a lot of the teams and stuff, and you're looking after one character or a couple of characters. It looks really like Blood Bowl in sort of the setup, and it's very much inspired by, I think.
Yeah. But what I really like about it is that it actually feels like a part of the world. Blood Bowl was always like a separate universe of sorts because it had all these factions playing a game between each other, which didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But this is just orcs, and it really feels like something that the orcs would do, have this sort of games.
Yeah, like a little competition amongst themselves.
Yeah. And the fluff text do a good job of explaining it too. So it's basically just a massive exercise in survival of the fittest. So it's part of their culture, and they get stronger. The tribe gets stronger by doing it.
Survival of the sneakiest.
Yeah. Some of the games just seem like mayhem as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pig thing in them is just insane.
Yeah. One thing that I really quite like about it is that several of the contests they are placed can be played on a chessboard.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So that's a neat little usage of something that quite a lot of people have. But then you could all
one or a couple of them anyway have like picking up different items and stuff on the squares, right?
Yeah, the master site had that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I would quite like that as well. Like adding random elements in there to spruce it up.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's very much like a random fun game. I don't think it's not meant to be tactical.
No, if I look at it from the perspective of the last Paint and Scrabbling show I did about player types, this is very much a Timmy game.
Yeah.
For sure, it's about having an experience and rolling a lot of dice and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I think
it seems fun.
Yeah, and I'm planning to do an episode focused on just that, on just this game, sometime in the future. But I would want to get some games under my belt before that.
Yeah. We're scrambling around for games. I mean.
Yeah,
it's so much to do at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a bit difficult to get games in right now because of reasons. So I think it was unfortunate to release a new game during a time when people can't actually get together and play games.
Yeah, although a good time to read a new rule set. Sit down and actually read something.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I really recommend people to take a look at it. If nothing else, the fluff text, I had a look through those and I found them really interesting. There's quite a lot of stuff on the gods of the Orcs and Goblins, which is neat. So apparently Sagyan is one of the gods, the god of challenges, basically. So
and there was there's you get different abilities depending on whether you choose feral, normal, or iron again, don't you?
Yeah, and they've explained again we had some in one of the scrolls we had some background for the Orcs and Goblins about the broods, and that the feral orcs are just the young orcs, and the adult ones are the common orcs, and then the iron orcs are the old and experienced ones. It's to do with age and nothing else. And they explain that a bit more in depth here, and things like that. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool release, and I look forward to exploring that a bit more in depth in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it says it works best with 3 to 6 players, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
I'm reading this and I'm thinking you could actually have a lot of fun just playing out some of the scenarios, just see what happens. Just to have a bit of fun with it. You don't need a massive crowd to play it by the looks of it. So.
No. But I guess the more the merrier.
Usually the case, yeah.
To a point at least.
Yeah.
I think they'd be fairly adaptable if you did manage to get 8 of you around the table.
Yeah.
I guess it's a bit similar to skirmish in that if you get a bit too many players, maybe the waiting time becomes a bit too long and people get bored.
Sure.
It can be an issue.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So maybe 4 players is the best, but we haven't played it, so we can't say for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but hopefully we will in the future.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think that's it for the news. Unless you have something you want to bring up.
Ooh.
No.
Not particularly. I mean, this isn't about what we're up to really. So no, not especially.
We've got, I guess, with Ninth Age news, we've got. You might have seen in the last issue of the Ninth Scroll, we've got a campaign coming up. If anybody's interested, so yeah, very much on the fluff side.
Yes, we do. That's cool. That's true.
Which is part 2 of a previous campaign that we're picking up as well.
Yeah.
So is it a continuation of the Fight for Avras campaign that you ran with the vampires and the trolls?
No, very different.
Okay, I remember one battle with the trolls who were very much
awesome. Trolls are amazing. They're amazing. No, it's not a continuation of that. What Lucky Six means by continuation is that a couple of years ago in a previous version of the scroll, I can't remember which number it was, Lucky Sixes,
but think it was
5. There was a campaign run between Highborn Elves and Warriors of the Dark Gods, run by 2 different players. Can't remember their tags on the forum. I mean,
at Matty P, I think.
Yeah, it was one of them. But so they did a campaign in the scroll with a very cool idea, Battle for Ice Pack, I think it was called. And Henry Miller invited us to basically do a return to that setting and continue that story. So we are continuing with some new characters, returning to the Battle of the Ice Pack, of Ice Pack, and giving it a fresh name, giving it a fresh perspective, and having a bit of fun with it. So yeah, we're going to have that in the scroll very soon.
Okay, that sounds awesome. I noticed that little introduction in the last scroll, but yeah, really looking forward to some more stuff on that then.
So are we hoping that we can do it in the current situation, because
yeah, of course.
Obviously the original plan was to meet up and have a few battles. I mean, to adapt things slightly, which we won't go into at the moment. But yeah, still looking forward to it. We're still going to bring some content out for you guys.
It really is quite amazing how everything you talk about this day always has to come with a little asterisk at the end about how this is affected by the world situation right now.
Yeah,
it's weird times we're living in.
Yeah, for sure. But it seems like if you're going to be stuck inside, isolating, be a gamer, you know.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed during all of this is that my ordinary lifestyle is what other people call quarantine. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Not a huge change for me.
No, that's it.
Staying indoors, painting all weekend, no issue. Okay, but should we move on to the main topic then?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to find some washes first. I really need to get my paints sorted up better. Okay, but the main topic is WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
So
A topic close to our hearts being proxy table gaming.
yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
you jumped at the opportunity as soon as I pitched the idea, so
Yeah,
that
sure.
was great.
Yeah.
But WYSIWYG basically means that when you play the game and you feel an army, things should represent what they seem to represent, basically. There shouldn't be any confusion about what's what, and you should be able to look at the army and know what you're playing against, basically.
At a glance, yeah, without having to ask your opponent, basically.
Yeah.
Providing you've got a relative idea of the rules and the units you're up against.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to ask your opponent what unit is that. Yeah.
You shouldn't get confused during the game because of the model choices, basically.
Yeah.
And this is a thing in a lot of games, though it's a bit different in the Ninth Age. In the Ninth Age, it's just about clarity. But I know that some other games, I think War Machine and Hordes are quite the official tournaments they have quite strict rules about this. But it's from a company's point of view, it's about making sure that people buy their models also.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's
Absolutely.
not anything that's relevant for the Ninth Age.
No.
Um,
we're almost the opposite. We almost encourage more models, don't we?
yeah,
More
of course.
companies, yeah.
We want people to be creative and use different models, but at the same time we don't want people to get confused by what they are playing.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's a tricky topic, really, for that reason.
Yeah.
It's actually a topic, going back to proxy table gaming, it's actually a topic that caused us a bit of concern when we started out as proxy table gaming. We
Yeah.
thought, we saw a lot of channels out there where people were playing models that actually looked like what they were. And we didn't have the models to do a proper battle report for every army. And we thought, well, we want to be proxy table gaming, but are we shooting ourselves in the foot by having models that aren't actually what they look like? Are people going to be interested in that? Are people going to care if we're using the wrong models? And so far, it seems to be okay. But that's,
Yeah, it is a huge deal for some people, especially watching battle reports. I know we're not necessarily talking about that right now, but watching battle reports, people will switch off if it's just grey, right? So, and if you're like doing something completely stupid, like you've got a lunchbox as a Great Green Idol sort of thing. Oh, that's a model conversion there.
yeah, I'm onto that. I might be able to do that.
Yeah, right.
A SpongeBob SquarePants
yeah,
lunchbox, yeah, obviously.
but a green one.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
But yeah, so it is a big deal for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, rightly so. I get it.
And as you said, it's for different people, different players, it's more important than for others. But this is a game that you kind of have to respect your opponent's wishes as well to both be able to enjoy the game. So it's about finding a common language, basically, so that everyone is on the same page, I guess. So we will look into some different examples of WYSIWYG and how it gets complicated, basically, and then finish up with trying to figure out some rules maybe that you can use on tournaments and such, because a lot of tournaments have rules for WYSIWYG, and we'll discuss a bit what we think is a good approach to these kind of rules, basically. So that's the planet list. Okay, so I think answering the question of why we have WYSIWYG as we said, it's for clarity. In the Ninth Age, you don't want people to get confused while playing the game.
Yeah.
Hyper, Jay, no, like a 60s, I think your mic is a little bit low. Do you think you could up it?
Yep. Knocked it to
That's
prevent the. Is that better?
that's a lot better. Perfect.
Oh, good. I don't like to be not heard.
Thank goodness it was you, not me, because I don't know how to change any settings.
Yeah, but that's a lot better. Okay, so it's about clarity. You want, as we said, you don't want people to get confused while playing the game about what model is what. But it's also about theme to a large degree. For people who really enjoy the game for the cinematic effect. Basically, the Warthos players, to use the player types from last episode again. You want the armies to look like actual fantasy armies, as you imagine them, and then you can see them battle it out on the tabletop. While someone who's more Melvin see them more as tokens and are okay with proxies and even tokens actually to play the game, paper cutouts and things like that.
Yeah.
So those are the two main components basically.
So are we talking just models, or because obviously with the Melvins you've got the terrain?
Oh
the
yeah,
flat terrain and stuff as well.
that's a big topic as well, with 2D terrain and things like that.
Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily something you can get. Well, I suppose you could get confused with, actually, couldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
Well, we have used a lunchbox lid as a river before. Remember, Lucky Sixes. So,
No, absolutely. The thing is, I really, the longer this goes on, the more I think I don't really care about in terms of, so like if someone wants to play an army, generally speaking, I'll play it. I think the idea behind the WYSIWYG stuff is for more tournament stuff. Is it acceptable to translate it? And are you necessarily going to play that person twice if you've already said I prefer WYSIWYG, right?
yeah, sure. Yeah, it's different rocking up to a tournament and like finding your opponent on the opposite side of the battlefield, and then them saying, "Right, your battle starts now." Do you have that conversation with them when the time is running, or like you say, do you have that conversation afterwards and say, "In future, I probably would rather not play against an army like that," and going from there. There's not a lot you can do when the time is rolling, perhaps, unless, of course, it goes against tournament rules, which potentially should have been knocked on the head before that timer begins. But
Yeah.
who knows?
I mean, in a tournament, it's a lot about people want to get their values worth, basically.
Yeah.
So they are there to enjoy themselves, and and it should be defined by the tournament organizer what an army should look like, basically. So that no one is surprised when they rock up to the table, basically. Because in a casual setting, it is of course also important with WYSIWYG, but you have a lot easier time to make agreements with your opponent beforehand and things like that.
Yeah, I think you kind of in a casual setting, you have much more chance and are better at organising that between you, aren't you? Because you know the group that you're with, you know whether you like it, like their ethos on WYSIWYG and their painting styles, etc. And so if you genuinely don't want to play someone because of their army, you just don't set up a game with them, right?
Yeah. For sure, and you can solve that easily between just the two people that are involved.
Yeah.
But at a tournament, you have to agree on these things beforehand.
Yeah, I think so.
Things like that. So that is why we need to have some rules for tournament.
So, what's your thoughts on it, Madat?
I think we'll wait with getting onto the rules, as I have some different examples that I think we'll get into.
Okay.
Beforehand, to just see what we think about the different things that can happen.
Sure.
So I'm gonna mention some Games Workshop models because those are arguably the ones that people are the most used to, and I don't have to bring up pictures of them for the most part to be able to know what I'm talking about. But if I say that I bring some Games Workshop Blackguards, those they're dark elves miniatures,
Yeah.
and use them as flame wardens in an hybrid elf army.
Yeah.
How
I,
how do we look at that?
again, personally, I'd have as long as again with the army composition, if they're all painted up, it doesn't even have to be to a good standard, but in a regular theme sort of thing. If you've got Nagarond instead of Phoenix Guard or however Flame Warden, sorry, if it looks like they've got halberdy weapons or a great weapon that could be a halberd, sort of thing, I ain't got a problem with that at all.
Yeah, same. I think there's a chance I might not even notice that problem.
No,
for as an example. Yeah.
Personally, I don't think that's an issue at all. There's nothing that we that we can
It's
say
still
about.
an elf, right?
It's still an
Yeah.
elf. It still has the right sort of equipment. It has heavy armor
Yeah.
and has a very obvious halberd.
Yeah. So
So that's not really an issue.
Yep.
If we were to use it as a lion guard, how about that?
again, halberd could be a weapon. Still
Yeah.
an elf.
Yeah, same.
I agree. Personally, it's so difficult to define what a halberd is. I mean, it's great weapon is a big catch-all term, just like hand weapon. It's a lot of things that can fit into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we're going into it, like, where do you stand on command groups?
Yeah, I'm very strict with command groups.
Yeah.
I want if the unit has a standard bearer modeled, then I want them to be upgraded with it.
Yeah.
And you can't
Yeah, I
upgrade.
think standard bearers are probably quite important musicians as well.
Yeah.
And all three of them probably are, to be fair, because they all have their uses in the game, and for you to suddenly announce you've got one, is quite important. If you don't know about that in advance.
The annoyingly, I think the most important one to know about is the champion.
Yeah.
That is also the one that is most difficult to define. I mean,
Yeah.
a standard bearer has a big standard. That's obvious, and the musician has some sort of musical instrument. For the most part, some of them are just shouting, which is really annoying.
Ogres.
Yeah, the Ogre Kingdom models from Games Workshop have their musician set, which is just an ogre shouting, which is annoying. But the champion, you can't really define what a champion should look like.
Yeah.
And it's really important to know if your opponent has one when you're charging in with your dragon character.
Yeah. For sure, and like how because some spears and stuff have not banners, but like ribbons and things coming off it, and could that be a banner?
Yeah, that's true as well.
Because like I know the old silver helms now, I guess, have a really tame looking banner that could just be a regular silver helm. So that comes from the set, like, So do you, as long as it's got a banner and the others don't, sort of thing, or how do you define that?
Yeah. And to a degree, it can be a bit tricky with some units. You basically have to convert your own banners and things like that.
Yeah. And some people don't know how to do that as well. So
some people just don't enjoy that and don't do that at all.
Yeah.
So it's a bit trickier. So that's another part of the rules that are really challenging too.
But yeah, going back to your example, it's an elf. It's got a big ass weapon. I'm happy,
Yeah.
Same.
I know that some people are really picky about what a halberd is, though,
Yeah.
because a halberd in a historic setting is a pretty well-defined weapon. It's like a big axe and a big stick, but it has to have some hooking sort of ability as well. It was used against cavalry mostly to pull them off their horses. So to some, a halberd is a very, very strictly defined concept.
It's quite an interesting one to have in a fantasy setting, to be honest, because it's as a separate weapon. Other than within fantasy gamers, I don't think many people would know, like common knowledge, what a halberd was. Really,
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
it takes a bit of historical knowledge, like which I'm into my history, so I know all about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But many people probably commonly wouldn't know the difference between a halberd and a polearm or something like that. But yeah, it's an interesting one to have in a fantasy setting, I think.
Yeah. And generally, I think the rules for a halberd are meant to represent any chunk of metal that's on a long stick, basically.
Yeah.
That is not a spear.
Yeah.
But really, when you get down to it, defining the limit between a halberd and a great weapon seems quite impossible.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you can stretch it that things like sword masters from Games Workshop, you can't use those as something with a halberd.
Yeah.
Because that is not a halberd.
Once you're doing that, you're getting into realms of questionability.
Yeah. Halberd masters.
But you using something with the White Lions of Games Workshop as tower guard, perhaps.
Yeah.
Then they have a big axe, so that could maybe be a halberd.
Yeah, for sure. But that is a much better example and a much more acceptable example than using an Iron Orc as a Phoenix Guard, right?
Yeah, although it depends on the theme of the army, I think.
Yeah, true.
You can get away with that too.
Yeah, going WYSIWYG and I think there are limitations. So like we know someone in our gaming group that's doing a really nice looking orc/warrior army. So he's got orc models for warrior models, but they're generally speaking really well armored and things. So he's got an Iron Orc base theme for his orcs, and the warriors obviously are armored anyway. So he's got that. That would be fine. And most things being counted as a warrior army might be pretty acceptable because of the fluff anyway. So if you can paint it up well, great. But to be a high elf, you need to be a high elf, right?
Yeah, probably. The fluff of the Night Age is quite open, and that example with orcs as warriors is actually said to be okay in the background. There are known orcs who have taken the pact.
Yeah. And the idea behind Warriors of Dark Gods is just that they've just taken the pact. You can be anyone that turns, right?
Yeah, you can have an elf army that's warriors or anything really. But I think
you could perhaps have warriors being elves because they have helmets on, and you could pretend they're just slightly stockier elves.
Yeah, maybe. And I mean the thing with the rules for WYSIWYG is that you don't want to limit people's creativity, but you want to make sure that everything is crystal clear in the game. That I think is the key of what we're trying to get at here. We
sure
at a tournament at least, you kind of want to avoid the lazy reuse of armies.
Yeah.
Which I guess is what you would call proxying. It's a bit of a difficult term in the Ninth Age because we are model agnostic.
Yeah.
But it's the creative armies of using orc model as a Warriors of Dark God army is not the issue here really.
Yeah, we actually in the last tournament we went to, which I think might have been the last tournament, I'm not sure, was the winner of the best painted, and did it was a orc army that was a goblin and squig army that was Kingdom Extane.
That sounds awesome.
It was.
Um,
Maybe I'll see if I can get you some pictures. That's again by Ryan at Goblin's Grotto, who we haven't checked with.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, he did a really nice looking goblin and a squig Kingdom Rectane all riding, squigs sort of thing, and yeah, that was the best painted. It obviously wasn't men,
Yeah.
but was Kingdom Rectane. Highly acceptable.
Yeah, I think
Do we
so
think?
too. It's a beautiful theme to use.
Hmm.
I've seen Empire armies made from goblins as well.
Yeah.
Actually, Fugin, the head of rules team, has one of those armies. It's really awesome.
Okay. Yeah. But then that completely goes against my previous point that an elf should be an elf, right?
Yeah, yeah, which just shows to how tricky this can be.
Yeah.
Because
I
you don't.
suppose what you're looking at is that you're actually changing the army books. Instead of being the army book is a race, you're changing the army book to a concept.
Yeah.
So the rules are the concept, and the race that plays that concept is actually open, is what you're potentially moving into.
Yeah.
So the highborn elf lifestyle is a way of life, and then it doesn't actually matter what race pays them.
It's about being uptight and douchey, and any
Exactly.
species can be that. That's not
Absolutely.
That's not an exclusive club.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's really interesting that it can be so different depending on basically effort. If you put in the effort to make it a themed army, it's so much more acceptable, basically.
Most of the time.
Even if it doesn't really fit the fluff as with the orcs as warriors really does. So yeah.
My webcams are frozen, by the way. I don't know if that's happened to you guys or anything.
Oh, we can see you.
Yeah,
Okay.
to us, it's to me everything is moving as it should.
That's fine then. I won't worry about it too much.
Okay, I can bring up another example if you like.
Please.
Please do.
What about Games Workshop Plaguebearer models? And you use them as Myrmidons.
Demons. Right. So demons could be their own argument, right?
Yeah, the demon book
Moment
can be seen as a very very special case because they are so weird.
Yeah. Who knows what the demons are?
Basically, every entry in the Demon Legion book is written as this is what a demon can look like, but it can also look like anything else, basically.
I don't think I would have a problem with it. I mean, I think I would probably second glance them when I first saw them on the table, and just say those are actually Myrmidons, are they? And probably just check.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But then, isn't it?
I think I would have a problem with it.
Sure.
And this gets into the background of the Ninth Age, because, as I said, the demons are quite liberal in what goes for a demon, but there are actually descriptions of a lemur describing it as a big walking corpse. And that is what the Games Workshop Plaguebearers are, basically.
Sure.
So then if I see those on the table, I would expect them to be lemurs.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time it feels a bit strict, perhaps, because you can't.
I think a lot of these things, like if you have any strong opinions on things, will seem strict purely because we just don't have WYSIWYG rules.
Yeah.
We don't really, like Ninth Age as a thing. I think is actually quite accepting as a tournament.
Relaxed,
yeah.
And
so
I think this is giving it a bit of a bad reputation among gamers, among those who really really value
Yeah.
the aesthetic
But I mean,
aspect.
in terms of reputation, people have those views regardless, don't they?
Yeah, that's I have some examples of what people really don't like about the Ninth Age. Hashtag tuna cans. But we'll get into that in a little while.
Yes.
So the Myrmidons issue is based on the available background. So I guess that when when background gets released, because as we know, there's not a ton out there. There is a lot,
Yeah.
but a lot of armies don't have much covered. But as that gets released, it sort of limits the WYSIWYG in my view.
So are we saying that this person potentially would be using them as Myrmidons and has done for a long time, or is it a person who is potentially looking at the demons and trying out Myrmidons and just doesn't have them yet? Because that's a different issue, isn't it?
I mean, in a
yeah.
casual game for trying out, I wouldn't mind that at
Yeah.
all.
Absolutely, yeah. If they said to you, I've played, I've played Lemurs for a long time and I want to go into Myrmidons, but I don't have them yet.
Yeah.
Then no issue. But
if
they do it 6 months later when they've bought a whole load of other demon models, then maybe not so much.
Yeah, and taking it to a tournament, I wouldn't be okay with it.
Absolutely.
I would like to see that effort
Yeah.
put in.
Too right.
But if this were the case before the demon book was released, I can't really argue that it would be an issue.
Sure.
I would probably still feel the same way because of like the legacy aspect of the game. You would expect those models to be Talaman at the time. But I couldn't make an argument as to why, because there's nothing we know about Talaman that says they should look like walking corpses. So I think that
so actually, demons having a full army book out makes it a bit easier to have that opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's as more background gets released, the WYSIWYG rules will become stricter. I think because you can look at the actual descriptions and say that doesn't represent what it should represent.
Yeah. Is that you as a player's choice in a tournament, or should that completely come down to the TO though?
The TO sets the rules, and then everyone at the tournament should be okay with whatever they face, basically, as long as But at the same time, if you define the rules a bit shakily, and then someone shows up with an army that's just on the border, and then it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, I mean, if you're using something entirely different, say you're using some land shark models as Myrmidons, then those could be used just as easily as Talaman or Succubi or even Imps.
Yeah.
Because those don't have any connection to the official fluff. So there's nothing you can confuse them with. You have to ask about them to be sure what they are.
Yeah.
You won't make any connections before the game starts. Basically. So moving on. We talked a bit about weapons and halberds and things like that. What about armor? As we mentioned with the Centaur Chieftain.
Yes. So, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm literally in that position now. So, to be fair, I'm using this for a fluff campaign. So that it's almost, I can say, is magically infused.
Yeah, I'm going to ban it, Lucky Sixes.
Yeah,
I'm writing the campaign for you, and I'm gonna ban that. I've decided. Just on the spot.
But yeah, so I mean, the exact example, I'll use the picture, right? So if anybody can see, this in the game will have a 1-up armor. No Aegis or nothing, but that's a 1-up armor save.
Yeah.
So
dodgy.
yeah, very dodgy.
disqualified, I think.
So he's got a bit of leather on his back, and the horse itself. He's got a helmet and a shield. What would you say that is, without knowing it is a 1-up? 4-up?
I would say
At best.
yeah, something like a 4-up.
Yeah. But obviously so that is not necessarily an armored thing. However, I guess you were talking clarity. If I say to you, it's got a 1-up armor at the start of the game, it's null void, right?
No, not really.
Ooh.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think armor is the absolute trickiest one, and I think it's about comparing it with other pieces in the army, basically.
Okay.
So if you have two models that are next to each other, and one of them is heavily armored and one of them is not, if the one with a lot of armor has a worse armor save than the one without armor,
Yeah.
then that gets confusing.
Yeah. And kills the immersion, right?
Yeah. So the example of using something like the Games Workshop Slayer models as something in the Dwarf Army book that has a high armor save wouldn't really be okay if you have other dwarves. If you use something like their Iron Breakers, I think they're called,
Yeah.
as Seekers who have no armor, then it's just upside down and backwards because the ones who looks to have armor are used as something that has no armor save.
Yeah. No, sure. So is that the same with characters, because you can have magically infused?
Yeah, and that's
Oh,
a
right.
that's a whole new issue. But I think I would
Yeah.
look then at the base armor that they have infused. So if you
Yeah.
have a Lamia model, they can have light armor,
Yep.
Lamia vampire, but then they can infuse that with Essence of Mithril and have a 2-up armor save, and then it shouldn't be heavily armored.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess. I mean,
Sure.
then it could be it's a magical thin armor that's hidden under their clothes, like Frodo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he's not going around in a tank, is he?
no, but he's virtually indestructible.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
armor,
Frodo.
armor, I think, is mostly about comparing it with other models in the army, so that the most heavily armored models are the ones who have the best armor save.
Yeah.
Basically, some leeway, of course, but yeah.
So, and this guy has a shield on the model. What if I didn't have it as armored as a shield?
I
What
would.
if you didn't take the shield option? Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm getting death stares
You're a bad boy.
from across the table.
Yeah, I wouldn't be okay with that. I would find confusing, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for characters, maybe it's more okay. For a unit, it can. I don't know.
Yeah.
A character you often ask anyway what's their armor save because of magical items and things like that. You don't really know unless you ask. And but on a unit, you if you look at them and they have some sort of heavy plate armor and then a shield, you can assume they have a 4-up or maybe even a 3-up. But yeah, it's tricky again. So I think we'll move on to some of these well-known, heavily themed, not fantasy armies. So
Okay.
we can start with the Tunacans.
Yes.
That,
And they were as Lothern Sky Cutters, weren't they?
Sky Sloops, they are called.
Sky Sloops, sorry.
But yeah, it was at the ETC for a few years back.
Yep.
Someone brought, was it 5 Sky Sloops to the tournament, and they were all a plastic bird toy with a tuna can strapped to the back.
I mean, the guy's got cojones, right? First off the bat, you give him a clap straight away, and then you go, "Where are your real models?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is what you do. You say, "Really, nice one. Now bring them out." Yeah.
And I mean, this was a really really big discussion on the forums for a long while, and
Yes.
it contributed to I think the bad image of the Ninth Age in the modeling perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
So it was a real unfortunate event. I've heard that his army was stolen shortly before the tournament, so that he didn't have he had the proper models, I guess,
Yeah.
available, but then he lost them shortly before the tournament and had to find a quick solution. And I also know that a lot of people are angry at ETC for even allowing him to use them.
Yeah. I think to some extent it's not all his fault though.
Yeah. However, I've talked to some of the people who have actually judged this, and I think their reasoning is pretty good. The judges at ETC, they can't really enforce this because the rules that they allowed was that if his opponent didn't want to play against those models, they could just say no, those are dead, and then he starts the game without them.
Yep.
But if someone wants to play against him, someone who doesn't care at all about the thematic aspect of the game, then the the ETC judges can't really stop them.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean that's debatable in itself, right?
Yeah,
So
I guess.
if you're running a tournament and you've got rules, how well you enforce them? Because I imagine at that same ETC there was tournament penalties for timing, right?
Yeah.
So if in a tournament setting, especially something that big and that high brow sort of thing, if you've got any rules, you've got to stick to all of them, right, or none of them, right?
Yeah.
Because you could, at the same token, say if someone doesn't mind overrunning, then just let them overrun, have a casual, nice game, and chill out, drink some beer. But
Yeah,
that's not in the rules.
but at the ETC, people don't even have to play the games. They can just shake on it.
True.
So
Very true.
they can't if they say that they can't use these models in the game at all, they are banned from the tournament, then they can just go outside and play the game on the outside and just report whatever score they want.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
because they don't have a million judges.
yeah, and they have the rule that you can report any result you want. They can't enforce people to actually play the game and report the actual result. If you shake on it, then there's nothing they can do. And I that's a really, I think, a core aspect of ETC. So I don't really know if they can actually change that in any way.
Yeah, and again, until you're able, well, I don't know. I could see that being separate from WYSIWYG though. If you like, fair enough, you agree a thing, and that's fair. But if you could, there'll be some games where that guy with a tuna can will have to play in order to win. Right? They won't get all the right matchups, and the other guy won't always want to.
Yeah, in some of the games, the opponent said, no, you're not using those models. And then the only thing he can do is play the game as best as he can without them.
Yeah.
So
you just say from the start, those models aren't allowed.
Yeah.
Because they're not models. And then you do that, and then then they're not an issue. But then, regardless, he's still made them and he still brought them to the tournament. Yeah. Even though he's not using them, they're still getting publicity.
Yeah. So I think the tournament can enforce people to to accept models. If the tournament says that these models are okay, then everybody has to play against them. But it can't really say that these models are not okay if someone still wants to play against them.
I don't know. Why couldn't you say, all right, you can use your army, but you can't use those models?
I mean,
as a tournament organizer, we say, well, we don't because like Games Workshop. I'd never been to a Games Workshop. This is all what I've heard, by the way. But I've heard that they would stop you using certain models in the actual tournament and say you can play on as normal, but you just lose those points.
We experienced that a few years ago, didn't we, with a massive dragon model that somebody
I think
used.
it was yeah. I don't know whether it was being used as a Carmine Dragon or the Carmine Dragon was being used as a different monster in the something of Winds of Chaos or something like that.
Yeah.
Storm of Magic.
Yeah,
It was a Storm of Magic monster. So this is going back 6 years.
at least. Yeah.
That sort of time. And we'd met up with this guy at Games Workshop World, or whatever it's called, Warhammer World, and like just started playing with him. He got a really, really amazing looking high elf army, and that army had I'm gonna say Carmine Dragon as an
Yeah, it was.
but it wasn't the exact Carmine Dragon that was explicitly said. So the tournament banned it.
And he had to play the rest of the tournament without a big monster. Just the rest of the
which everyone had. So in that same regret, ETC could do that.
Yeah, but then those, if he gets matched up against a player and then he says, I have this Carmine Dragon here in my in my box, I'm not allowed to use it according to the tournament rules. Are you okay with me using it? And then if they
but then that's going directly against. So if the tournament then finds that out, they just say, well, you've got 0.
Yeah, they zero them both. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you're an accomplice to breaking the rules, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I
so
guess.
I think you can stop someone. It would be very harsh.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't ever do that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it would. Yeah, I think you can if you're really looking at it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's true. But then you're really getting into people's business, I think, because to me, if two people agree to what's okay, then that's okay. Yeah.
I would agree for a casual game, but for a tournament game, you go by the tournament rules, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fair enough. The tournament can set those rules, and it's up to them. I would never set them at a tournament.
No, it's exactly the same. But then you're allowing that situation to happen.
It's the decision of the TO.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the Lego armies and the My Little Pony armies?
Well, really, the same applies, but I loved it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, I think.
Oh man, and you're getting into then as well, like, because it was really well done, and it was as a Lego army.
Yep.
So if you take it for what it is, it's not really in the rules or whatever. But it was there was a lot of.
Let's just say first that it was an army, Kingdom of Aquitaine army, built from Lego models on horses.
Yeah, and a lot of time. It was obvious that a lot of time had been taken on it.
Yep.
And he'd also painted up some of the standards as well. Is that right?
I think so.
So he had done some painting. Granted, it was still Lego, and actually, regardless of my thoughts on it, it did go down pretty badly in the wider community of gaming, didn't it?
I mean, a lot of people really rallied behind it.
Yeah,
but some people were upset.
I guess in a game like Ninth Age, where we don't have like the biggest following, you really don't need to give anybody else ammunition to say how crap your game set is.
Yeah.
Right? So even though absolutely I loved the army, you could say it would not really shouldn't have really been allowed.
Yeah, and I think that's about it's on the TO again.
Mm-hmm.
Because the person with the Lego army contacted the TO beforehand and asked if this was okay.
Yeah, yes.
And they were okay with it. But I'm not sure if that was communicated to the rest of the tournament goers. So
yeah.
So someone who was going to the tournament and was expecting to play the game using a lot of fantasy miniatures and play against that all 5 games would have not gotten his value out of it.
Yeah. So
because the TO wasn't clear to the rest of the
Yeah.
tournament that Lego armies would be allowed, because that's not something that you write in the rules back. At this tournament, you may use Lego armies.
No.
So that I don't know how you address, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't ban that at my tournament.
No.
But if
But
someone,
then have you got to think whether it's a tournament in a country, no matter don't matter how big it is from that point of view, but ETC is next level, right?
Yeah.
So you've almost got to take away sentiment at
Yeah.
ETC if you're looking at, because that's the game, that's the tournament that people are going to look at as the staple of your game.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. Again, personally, I absolutely adored that army. I know I liked it on Twitter and everything. That's how much I liked it. But at ETC, if you know that deep down it is gonna, some people are at the same tournament, let alone other people looking on the tournament, are gonna find offence in it or
Yeah.
whatever. I think you've got to take the decision to ban it.
I think it was maybe him or the guy with the My Little Pony army, which was also a Kingdom of Equitane army,
Yeah.
who I wonder why those are so popular, to make those really strange themed armies. But I think he had a quote unquote normal army with him as well. So if someone didn't
Okay.
want to play against the Lego army, he would bring those up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, is he admitting then that he knows that it's not right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, if you bring it back up,
but he wanted to play with the Lego army, but he
of course,
knew that
of
people
course.
wouldn't be 100% okay with it, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, so then I don't know. Surely the tournament. That's what I mean. Like I don't bring a backup high elf army when I go to tournaments because I know that they're high elves. But if you're bringing some, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to bring a backup army because my army is my army. It's not the best painted or whatever. And to be fair, I don't convert, so I don't often have that problem. But if you're bringing a backup army, are you not arguing yourself out of any sort of credit?
Yeah, I guess, but it's just being conscious about the scene, really.
Yeah.
And I think it's considerate towards his opponents. If they don't want to play against that, then he could just accommodate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. Like I said, I guess mixed opinions on it. And any other tournament, I wouldn't really see too much of an issue. I think ETC might be next level sort of stuff.
And I've seen this kind of armies elsewhere too. I seen I think it was Infernal Dwarfs, but everything was minions from the Despicable Me films.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really charming. I like that. But I can understand people who don't want to play against it, because it goes against their theme of the game. It's not the
I think
experience
I've seen a Hobbit Empire army as well.
Yeah, but
then
that's like a border case, because halflings are actually part of the Ninth Age world.
Yeah.
So
The
it's
moot.
yeah, in
The
Warhammer.
old world. Yeah.
Yeah. But just recently it was actually revealed that there are halflings in the Ninth Age world. We don't know anything about them, but they exist. So that would actually fit in the world, but they don't have an army book. So I think maybe the Empire is the best suited to use them as.
Sure. Yeah, they've been recruited.
Yeah, but I also wouldn't shoot them down as being used as the Sylvan Elves, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So I think themed armies that still sort of fit can fit into a lot of places.
Yeah.
I mentioned before with the land sharks as demons, but I could see that used as an orc army as well. If you have a nautical themed army with crabs and things like that, that could be an
Yeah,
orc army.
I've actually played against a demon army with nautical theme.
Nice.
Done by Ollie Mathers. Really, really good. Look, and again, that's he's put the time in to do it. Everything's got a theme. I didn't know what exactly everything was,
That's a demon problem.
Well, that was demons anyway. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, so there was a lot of checking. But I really liked playing against that army as well. So
Yeah, and actually the nautical theme of demons is also established. There's a special character that is like a big crab who lives
oh right,
under,
cool. I didn't
under
know
the sea.
that. So that's
So
awesome.
so it's like a perfect fit for demons, really.
Yeah. No, nice.
Um,
So yeah, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really like the Lego stuff, but whether or not that's the right place for it, I think there's an argument for that.
yeah. Okay. So moving on, some other example. How about using Games Workshop Mournfang Cavalry, but you convert it and put an orc or two orcs on top, and then you use it as an orc chariot, orc boar chariot.
Okay, so I thought you were going to say Karkadan.
Karkadan, no issue at all. I mean, if you
Yeah,
the Karkadans are explicitly meant to be different types of beasts, and any even ogres can ride them because ogres can take the pact. That's no issue at all.
yeah. But Chariot is slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah, because then it's a different unit type.
Yeah. What do you think, Hyper G?
Well, I'm just so relaxed about everything that I just same answer for me with most of these examples. Is that I'm okay with it, providing I've got through that 5 seconds at the start of the battle when I've found out that there's a poor chariot. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I'm the most relaxed kind of gamer you're going to get. Not many of these examples am I ever going to have a problem with, providing I can remember. But that's
Yeah.
because I've got quite a good grasp of all the army books, and there's not much that would surprise me because I've read all the army books.
Yeah.
Someone who hasn't read an Orcs and Goblins army book or an Ogre's army book might have a problem seeing a Mournfang, and that's totally understandable.
Yeah, then they would assume that it's some sort of large cavalry rather than a chariot.
Yeah, I mean, instead of saying that the two boars had one attack each, they're just assuming the Mournfang has two attacks.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not a huge issue in my opinion. But I'm the worst person to talk to about appearances, so that's why I'm keeping relatively quiet.
What about the other way, where you've got that then, and someone has a problem with you?
Would you punch that person in the face?
Yeah, they've done that, and then what do you say to them? How do you justify your Mournfang, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I don't think I would choose to take that to a tournament. I mean, I'm not a good painter, and I as part of proxy table gaming, I have no issue with not playing the models as they are. But I've still, the tournaments that I've been to, I've still sat in front of my models for hours upon hours pre-tournament, painting my models to look exactly like they should do.
So why is that? Why have you done that?
Because I'm choosing to give the other players that respect of my models look what they are supposed to. And I don't think I have the guts to do anything more.
So why do you think it's disrespectful then to do it the other way?
No. Not disrespectful for other people to do it. I'm choosing to eliminate myself from that argument by not doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm grilling you, eh?
It was fine. Yeah. Trouble is, I can't see you because my camera's.
Oh, I can see you. It's a good job.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, I guess I'm just. If I chose to play a different model, I would check it out with the tournament organizer. Because that's.
Then now you get to the point of being model agnostic. What is a different model? There is no official model.
Yeah.
This chariot example, I would personally not have an issue with it, and I have a close friend who has an army with those types of chariots. He uses exactly that conversion. And my argument is that there's nothing you can confuse it with, really. If someone rocks up to the table with that in an Orcs Goblin army, I think the reasonable thing to do is to assume that it's a Orc chariot.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if you place it on a chariot base, of course, and all, I think maybe the Mournfang or they came with that base in the old days. So I don't know. but if it's on the same on the correct base and all of that, then that is what it's best representing, I think. If you use it as a wolf chariot, but you have orcs on top, then that's a different story. That's not right.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Because then I would assume it's a wolf.
Interesting.
But this
So
trouble
what
with
if you have a wolf chariot and a boar chariot, both with Mornfang, but with a goblin and a orc?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
So you said obviously it's
yeah,
okay to do separately, but now we're crossing swords.
yeah. I mean, they are still different in that one has goblins on it and the other has orcs on it. But ooh, that's pushing it. That's really pushing it.
Yeah.
I could see some other big beast for the orc chariots, and I know my friend who does this. He uses the Thunderwolves cavalry, but with goblins on top as chariots.
Yeah, cool.
And that's no problem for me. Those are then they're very easy to identify. So again, it's about clarity for me, really. But yeah, that's a good counter question with using the same mount for different things. But yeah, I guess it's about the mounts are different on these two chariots, as are the riders. So as long as they are different, then it's fine.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
On a similar topic, something that I myself use, I have the Games Workshop Nagash model, and I use it as a Nosferatu vampire on a colossal zombie dragon.
Do you have a mount on Nagash?
Nope, it's just Nagash.
Ooh.
Yeah. and I brought this to tournaments. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think personally, no problems because it's be on a big base. It's obviously a zombie dragon, whatever base wise, but is it a zombie dragon?
Nope.
I personally have a big affiliation with dragons, so I love me a dragon. So
really,
yeah, I know. Who'd have thunk it?
I actually realized quite recently that I mean I have a huge collection of models. I have 2 really big armies and like 3 smaller armies, but I don't have any dragon model. I have a Wyvern. That's the closest I get.
Change that. Stop what you're doing. Go out and buy a painted dragon.
I do need to change that really, but the only thing I use in a game as a dragon is Nagash, and that's not a dragon model.
Yeah.
Do you have 3 Lucky Sixes? You have 3 dragons, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. So red, blue, and forest.
Yeah.
At the minute, I do like that Carmine dragon. I must admit, so I might buy that too. We'll see.
But the reason I think that this use of Nagash is okay is again that I think it's what people would assume that when they see that model placed on the table, it's the option in the Vampire Covenant book that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use it as a Shrieking Horror. It's the same base and it's a big monster thingy, but it doesn't feel right. Nagash doesn't have that atmosphere.
Okay. So that's your personal opinion on Nagash, then?
Yeah,
right?
that's 100% my personal view, and I haven't had any issues with when I used it at tournaments. So.
No, but like I'm sure you wouldn't have any issues in using him as a Shrieking Horror.
No,
in the same vein.
I would be okay with other people using it, but I wouldn't myself do it because I feel that's a bit. I have a bit higher standard on myself, I guess.
Fair enough.
Because I can't really say what would be wrong with using him as a Shrieking Horror. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
But I can't point to anyone else saying that's an issue because I don't really know why it would be an issue.
Yeah. No, yeah. I guess from an argument's point of view, you've got the Nagash doesn't have model parts. And you've got 2 model parts.
Yeah, that's the issue. And in a way, then it's more okay to use him as a Shrieking Horror, but because then it's just 1 model part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Crazy.
It's tricky. So
Right, I have a issue
Yeah.
about modelling. I've got all his metal is copper. Should his helmet be copper or silver? Does it matter?
Depends on what the other colors you're using, I would say. Copper.
I've gone black, brown, copper, and leather.
I mean, it's mostly skin color, right?
Yeah.
And I think copper can look. It is a bit reddish brown copper, so it's a bit same as skin color. But if you use a little bit of verdigris, corrosion on the copper, then you can really push it into a different area.
All right. Right. Okay.
So,
we can carry on.
then you can separate it well enough.
Yeah, nice. All right, cool. Lovely job.
Silver.
Yeah, silver then.
Just to be awkward. No, go on, carry on. I'm just playing, just messing about.
Okay, so
what about? Can I just quickly throw one in as an example? What about using a Stegodon as a Stygiusaur?
So the Stegodon, yeah, okay, Stegodon. The Games Workshop Stegodon as a Stygiusaur.
I mean Taurosaur as a Stygiusaur. I'm combining games. Sorry.
No, that's right. The model is a Stegosaur, and you're using it as a Stegosaur. I think that would be an issue because there is what's the Taurosaur it's called. Yeah, I don't know what Taurosaur is in game. If it was called a Triceratops.
No, sorry. Let me clarify. In Games Workshop, they were Stegodon and Troglodon.
Yeah.
And in 9th Age is Taurosaur and Stygiusaur.
Yeah.
Respectively. So yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I would personally have an issue with it, but I can't really justify it. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
I don't know if there's anything in the name of a Taurosaur. I don't know I mean, that's a real dinosaur, I assume, but I don't know what that dinosaur looks like.
Triceratops, basically. Triceratops and
Stegosaurus. If a Taurosaur is a Triceratops,
yeah,
then I would say that the Stegodon is also a Triceratops, so it's best to be represent a Taurosaur.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one with dinosaurs, isn't it? Because you know, they're not around anymore.
Yeah, I think a similar one is we mentioned a bit about the Elven elite infantry, but using something like Swordmaster models, or no, rather using White Lions against Workshop as Swordmasters.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the weapon options are all right. It's a great weapon. No one can argue that. But I would argue that there is a unit in the Hybrid Elves that is called Lion Guard, so that has a strong lion theme. So if you're using models with a strong lion theme, they should be Lion Guard.
Yeah, sure.
But then if there's something that doesn't have a theme because we don't have background yet, and the name doesn't give anything away, then it's much more open.
Yeah, I suppose that's the argument, isn't it? There's no fluff. You say, well, what's actually to say that Lion Guard have, apart from the obvious name?
Yeah.
There's not actually you could argue there's no affiliation with lions. That's Swordmasters. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be like, if you have Swordmasters and lions, there's no doubt the lions should be used as lions.
Yeah.
But
everything gets back to Highborn Elves, doesn't it? For goodness sake, I bring up dinosaurs, and suddenly you're onto Highborn Elves. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you try your best, but we're always going to.
I'll try. I'll go back to my painting.
But in the same vein, I think someone using the Dread Judge models, the Executioners by Games Workshop as Lion Guard. No, I think that would be an issue because they have big swords, so they should be Swordmasters. That makes sense.
Dilemmas.
Yeah, and again, if we had official fluff, it would be a lot easier. But at the moment, we just have their names really. We have some Hybern Elf stuff, but not about those particular units. So tricky. Okay, I have one last question or example, and then we can wrap this up if we want to.
Cool.
Or yeah, we were going to talk about some rules too. This has gone on quite a while. So
Okay.
using a Games Workshop Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, not sure if they produce that model anymore, but there's some similar models from Mercha, and using that as a Warriors of the Dark Gods Marauding Giant.
I've got no problem with that.
Okay.
No, me neither.
Oh. I would have issues with that.
Mm.
Because there is something in the Warriors of the Dark Gods book called a Feldrak, which is in the fluff is described as a lizard with a torso, and that's what a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is.
Yeah, it's a tough one with giant though, because giant is referring to a size as opposed to a species.
Yeah.
So it could be just a big something.
the thing is, if someone used that as an Orcs and Goblin giant, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Because then it's still like the best thing that you can use it as in an Orcs and Goblin army.
Yeah.
It won't be confused with anything. But if I see that model in a Warriors of the Dark Gods army, I'm gonna assume it's a Feldrak, because that's what that's what Feldraks are described to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you're right there in that if you're looking at stuff and you don't talk to your opponent, I think you're assuming out of the two of those a different option to what it is.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, is the argument for WYSIWYG, right? You want to be able to know what the units are without having to go through every little bit,
without having to actually be social with your opponent and just
stand
there like a statue and don't talk to them.
Yeah.
Isn't that how you're supposed to play?
Yeah, that's the dream. Maybe I misinterpreted the game.
Sportsmanship? What's that?
But yeah, I think that's the last example that I have of tricky situations.
Yeah, there's so many out there though. There's so many.
Yeah.
We'd be talking for hours and hours on all the different options and combinations.
I think you're right. I think where it comes as it starts becoming an issue is when it's obviously not the same troop type. So like the chariot, for example.
Yeah, and the gash.
And then if that you're using a model that is already in your army or is known to, because I know obviously everyone will say no, there's nothing in the armies, whatever, and that's all legacy issues. But that's the point, right? So Ninth Age is a legacy game, no matter how you look at it. So there's going to be already thoughts on what units look like, because like predetermined thoughts.
Yeah.
And we're just quite laid back with it rather than anything. But if you, like you said, if you've got a Shaggoth in a Warriors army, you're going to assume it's the Dragon Ogre one.
Yeah, but that's not even just because of the legacy. That's because of the official fluff too.
Yeah.
Because we know
for sure. Yeah,
we know what that's like in the Warriors book.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I think it comes down to who you are and what sort of player you are, and I guess the environment that you're playing it in as well. But yeah, I think there's not going to be many times when you're not allowed to use that model.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Currently, anyway.
Yeah. So I think we could have a quick look at the tournament rules from the Ninth Age, because they have rules defined for. This is all just been in vain, because the Ninth Age actually has rules for this. So we are just talking here for no point at all.
Oh, that's the best type of talking.
But I think we can have a quick look at those. See what they say, and if they address some of the issues that we've brought up. So they have some guidelines, is what they call it, and the first point is that it should be the correct base size.
Yeah.
And I think that's fairly obvious.
Yep.
And I think that's also one of the best tools you have to identify a model, because
Yeah,
sometimes
sure.
there's only one option in the book that has that base size. In an Orcs and Goblin army, there's only one thing when I base that's 100 times 150 millimeters. So you can use pretty much any model you want, because you will always assume that's a gargantula.
Yep.
So base size.
Yeah, I found that out the other day. Because I tried to play my Ragnarok as a Great Green Idol, and I was like, oh man, that's totally different.
Yeah, yep. That's a different base size.
Yep. Didn't do it for long.
Yeah. Then we have models should represent the appropriate army, or at least not be easily mistaken for another army. And I guess that's what we talked about with the using like Goblin army as a King Equitane or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that rule I think is pretty harsh. As we said, if you theme it well, you put an effort in, there's not really an issue with it.
Yeah.
It's just reusing an obvious Orcs and Goblin army as a Hybrid Elf army or something like that feels a bit lazy, I guess. Models should represent the appropriate height and type and not be easily mistaken for another height or type. And that's the Nagash issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And under those rules, Nagash would not be allowed as a dragon, zombie dragon, basically.
Yeah.
So again, that's a bit harsh, I think, but that's just me because I want to use Nagash.
I think that's a surprising one for me, really, that's in there, because
yeah,
that's quite tough to adhere to if you're using your imagination.
If you want to be a bit creative, that's
really tough,
limiting.
Yeah. I think out of all of them, that's the one that's most likely to be relaxed, surely.
Yeah.
You'd hope so. Yeah.
It just gives you an excuse to buy a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, I want to buy a dragon. I'm gonna paint one up for my Empire Stormshell army someday.
Cool.
I have tons of models to paint up for that army though, so I can't really do it right now. But someday,
it's coming.
Someday, it's coming. So next, models should represent the appropriate weapon options according to the army list. And this is not something that we brought up, but I think it's worth mentioning. I think this is only important really on models that have different options.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Or at least if they can. Let's take Hold Guardians, for example, in Dwarves. They don't have any weapons at all. But I know that there's quite a lot of miniatures out there that are like big dwarven statues, and some of them have big hammers that they're swinging around.
Yeah.
So they look like they have great weapons, perhaps.
Okay, yeah.
But then you can't even field them with great weapons. You can only field them as is.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would have an issue with that.
Yeah. But then if they had an option for great weapons or hand weapon, and they've come off with Makov hammers,
then I would expect them to have you would have upgraded them with great weapons.
Yeah, for sure.
So, a bit of a tricky one, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably more appropriate when we're talking about the halberds and the line guard, etc., or or dinosaurs, obviously. When it's got the options, you really want the option to be like whatever option you've taken as the primary. It doesn't have to be every. For me, it doesn't have to be every.
No, of
model,
course not. I think
but just the primary.
These rules say 51% should have the correct weapon options.
Yeah, and if you've got like a unit, because unit fillers are a thing as well, right? So that's not that unit fillers aren't technically
Oh, don't talk about unit fillers.
WYSIWYG.
That's a whole other issue.
Well,
Yeah,
they're just as creative as anything else, but they,
Yeah.
you have a statue of a phoenix. That's not a flame warden, but it can be a unit filler for that flame wardens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, unit fillers is is really a big topic that we could also dive into. I don't think we will go too much in depth now.
Sure.
Um,
But yeah, so as long as the majority have that option, I
Mm.
wouldn't normally have a problem. And I can't see that being too much of a problem for the people. But
okay, command group models should be represented by the appropriate models. That we said, and I think that's hard to
Yep.
compromise on.
Mhm.
The champion is difficult to define, as we said, but otherwise, it's the only real excuse is that it might be hard to get appropriate models for some unit options, and you have to convert and things.
Yeah, because you can still paint him up slightly different, couldn't you?
Yeah, yes. So
Yeah, I know I had a problem finding skink command models some time ago. I didn't look that hard, so someone's probably going to shout at me for saying that when they're really easy to find. But I know that it wasn't as easy as I might have liked it to be. So that's just one example.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, and then the last point here is unit fillers. They have 4 general guidelines. They should not cause confusion. Okay. They should not interfere with normal gameplay. So you can't have just a unit be a single big unit filler, because then you can't reform and remove casualties and things like that.
Makes sense.
Unit filler should be no more than approximately 33% of the unit size. I think that's fair. 33% is quite a lot still.
Yeah.
And then unit fillers do not count towards the 51% of unit equipment.
Okay.
So they eventually thought about that.
Loopholes on loopholes.
Yeah. However, there I think I would be a little bit harsher, because if you have a unit filler, I have ogres as unit fillers in my empire units quite a lot.
Yeah.
And orcs, and I kind of would expect those to also have the right equipment. I mean, if you have a statue, you can't really expect it to be equipped with a great weapon if it's a great weapon unit. But if it's just a bigger model, still walking around and fighting, then maybe you can expect it to count.
Still,
so it's tricky, basically.
But then a hand weapon for an ogre is a great weapon for a man. Right?
True, that's true. Yeah, so there's no right
Don't
answer.
go there.
Oh god.
All right. So those are the rules in the tournament pack of the Ninth Age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I think they are okay, basically.
Yeah.
They're as good as you're gonna get.
It doesn't address anything like Lego, does it?
No, nothing on themed armies. The only thing is that it should represent the appropriate army. But then a Lego army is probably best used as an Aquitaine army if it's all Legos and horses. So that's the appropriate army.
Yeah. Could you put a thing on scale in that as well? 28. Is it 28 mil?
I don't think it mentioned anything about that.
So you could, well, as soon as you put that in, you're indicating Lego.
Yeah, I guess.
And then some like crazy, because you could have as well like really small dragon ogres, or like so you could have like small dragons as well. So I don't know whether that's the thing, but then you'll get some models that are awesome and exactly fit the bill, but aren't a scaled miniature model. So I don't know. Maybe that's why they haven't got that in.
Yeah. I would just like to mention the tournaments that I run. I use I have a pretty strict WYSIWYG policy. I'm well known in the Swedish scene for having the most strict WYSIWYG at any tournament.
Okay.
And my
And then you
base
turn up with the Nagash.
and I turn up with Nagash. So I mean, I have strict rules, but maybe not defined as other people would.
Yeah.
So
Good man.
my basic rule that I have is that your opponent should be able to look at your army, compare it with your army book, not the army list, just the book, and then not make any incorrect assumptions.
Okay.
So if something is unclear, if you can't tell what something is, then you have to ask, and then you clarify. So if they see Nagash, they don't really know what that is, so they ask, and it's clear. They don't assume it's something else. Unlike this Feldrak issue, if you have a Feldrak in a Warrior to Dark Gods army, you're gonna show up and assume that is a Feldrak, not a giant. But if you have something completely different, a monster that doesn't fit either of those description nor a Forsaken one, then you're gonna ask and you have to clarify. You're not gonna assume anything incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
I think those rules make sense. Not all of my tournament goers that do. Some of them tries their best to find loopholes.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Some people go out of their way to find the loophole,
yeah,
don't they, in the rules. So.
One of my friends who hosts a lot of tournaments in Westeros, Dennis. We have had a team tournament coming up with 4 teams, and he was sort of threatening to show up with 4 teams and all of them be made from high elf models. So you would have 4 identical armies of Hybrid models or high elf models, and they would be Hybrid elves, Dread elves, Sylvan elves, and Emperor Sunshal. 4 identical armies, but used for different things. And
Great.
I mean, my rule here wouldn't actually disallow that because you say that this is the Empire Sunstral, and then then the Swordmaster models, they are probably gonna be the Imperial Guard with great weapons.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna make incorrect assumptions, but it's really pushing those rules.
Fantastic.
So yeah, but it doesn't. The tournament might not happen now, and he's not gonna take that army. So he was just threatening and joking about it, and that I can get behind.
I'm on his side.
Don't encourage him. Yeah. Okay. So I mean that's about it for me. I don't have much more to say. I think I have much more to say about this topic, but I don't think we should dive any deeper than we already have.
So I've always got something to say, but I think I don't mind shutting up.
So what about Hyper-G? Got any last thoughts?
No, not more than we've already said, but I would just emphasise that you get different scales of player. It's clear that you two are much better painters, therefore you have more of an opinion. I am not a painter. I cannot paint. I don't care about painting. Therefore, my opinion on what someone else brings is a lot lower standard. I'm fine with everything pretty much because I don't value that side of the hobby. But it's different for everyone.
I don't know if those two are related, but for sure there are different people who enjoy different things.
Yeah, I think as well, because I have a knowledge of the army books, again, the chances are if I look at my opponent's army, before I guess what they are, I'm going to have a good knowledge base to guess correctly.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who doesn't know my army book is probably going to guess it incorrectly, not because the model doesn't look right, but because they didn't know the army in the first place. So, it's tricky, but as a relaxed player, which I can definitely say I am, I'm fine with most things on this topic. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, speaking of painting, before we wrap up, we'll have a little look at what we've been working on.
Sure.
You want to go first?
Yeah, because that way it only gets better. So, I mean, you probably saw like, I don't know how much of the webcam you can see, but I've only used one paintbrush. I've only used like one color for the
Okay.
entire of this
Batch painting.
call. So absolutely. So I have now painted. Hopefully you can see that is 2 of 9 Iron Orcs that I have finished in terms of the red color
Yeah.
on them. There's, like I say, the quality is really poor compared to what other people can do.
You're getting paint there. That's what's important.
Exactly. So now they look like they are an Iron Orc army with blood red as their theme, black armor, and that's about it really. 3 colors, but it's enough for me. So I've done 9 models today.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Nice.
The only thing I need to do to finish them is just add some wash now, and they'll be done, and maybe tidy them up a bit. But yeah, predominantly that is half a unit for me.
Yeah, excellent.
Good work. I am just finished for today, I guess. Let's see what can...
It's terrible.
Yeah, no.
You went with the silver helm on it, I see.
Yeah, I don't know whether
I think that works.
Yeah,
I think it works.
See. I think it does, but then maybe I want to change to the copper.
That's the
I don't know.
That's the 1-up armor save helmet, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. It's one of the better helmets in the game, actually.
Yeah.
Little shield just there as well. But no, I don't know whether this will be his final color scheme, but that'll do for now.
He'll turn up blue with a dragon helmet, won't he?
Oh, I just buy a dragon.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's my
Good work.
page for today.
That's good, mate. That's good.
Nice. And I've pretty much finished my little Flagellant here.
That's awesome.
I'd hoped to get some more stuff done, but been focusing a bit on the talking.
So does he have a name?
No, not yet. He's gonna get one, I'm pretty sure.
Good. And a journal entry?
Yeah, maybe. This is gonna be a new warband, so not the Empire one. It's gonna be an Inquisitor warband. So I don't know if I'm gonna write fluffy battle reports for them, but we'll see.
Great.
I've been trying to do some weathering on his clothes here around the base. Not super happy with it. It's something that I really need to practice on. Yeah, I have 4 more models to try my luck at, and yeah, it's a fun model to paint up. That was all.
Great.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed my one as well in terms of the details. There's loads more detail than I've even got started with at the minute. You're a much quicker painter as well. I'm really being slow on this one.
It's all about this cenital highlight. It gives you that base highlight of everything. But no, it's it's been a nice model to paint. Got 4 more to do. So as always, I would like to know what other people have been painting while listening to this. The goal is, after all, to get some paint done. So put that in the comments below if you like. And I guess I'll see you on the next one. So thank you for listening. Cheers.
Thanks.
See you later. Take it easy.